All right, grade sevens, we had some problems with this, and we have to nip this in the bud because it's a very important concept to get, and maybe I didn't stress how important it was, or maybe we glossed over something. So we're going to look at it one more time. We are going to add and subtract integers, and all you've ever had in your experiences so far is when you've added something, it's gotten bigger, and when you've subtracted something, it's gotten smaller. But when we're dealing with integers, addition doesn't normally make a number larger anymore because we may be adding negative numbers to it. And similarly, we may be subtracting positive numbers or subtracting negative numbers, and that'll make our answer bigger. There's a whole bunch of different scenarios. So we can no longer just look at the sign in an equation and assume that it's going to be getting bigger or smaller. We have to use this little logic sentence. So the logic sentence stays the same. You only have to do it in your head until you realize, and you can say it over and over again, and the more you do it, the quicker it will be, and I promise you, it will eliminate about 90% of your errors. So I've got 4 questions here in different colors, and I have a few, if you look underneath, what I've done is I've written out the sentence that you'll say, and we'll just go along with it, and I'll show you how it goes. You've been doing this in your head, and we practiced it today, and I'm sure you're not going to have any questions with it tomorrow, but I'm going to show you 4, and then I'm going to post some on the next page, and I hope you can find someone to practice this with tonight, because I need this to be right when you come back to school tomorrow. Okay, so here it goes. If we're doing this first one, that's 3 plus -7, I don't even want you looking at this 3 yet. I want you to say to yourself, I am adding cold. So right here, if we're looking at this sentence right here, you are adding cold to your mixture, and then you say to yourself, okay, if I'm adding cold, it must be getting colder. So we can take that out, it's not that. I will move, and we should know that if we get colder, and here's my number line right here, if I get colder, colder means I'm going to the left down the number line. So far, you know, you're adding cold, it's getting colder, and you're moving to the left. Now all you have to figure out is how many spots to the left you're moving, and you're moving 7. Now that you know which way you're moving and how many you're moving, you can actually attack the question. So you do that by saying, okay, I'm starting at 3. I already know I'm moving to the left, and I'm moving 7 spaces. We'll talk later about little shortcuts here, but basically it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Your answer to this will be -4. There's your first one. Let me erase this off the board so we can get at our next one. All right. Our next one up here in green is -4 minus 3. And really what you have to say to yourself, and I'm going to be working right here with this right here, is I am subtracting, because that's what this is, and I'm subtracting warm. So actually this one doesn't work. This would have to be, I'm subtracting hot, and if I take hot away, it must be getting colder. And if it's getting colder, I know colder means I'm going to move left down my number line. And I'm going to move down my number line 3 spaces. So now that I know I'm moving left 3 spaces, I can go ahead and attack this question. I know I'm starting at 4, which is right here, and I'm going to be moving 3 spaces to the left because it's getting colder. And this question of 4 minus 3 is going to equal -7. There's your first 2 done. All right, let me erase this just so it's not so scattered or cluttered up here. All right. There we go. Okay, now we're going to do this question in blue. So, again, we don't even look at this first part. You identify what operation is going on and whether it's hot or cold that we're moving away. So I say to myself, I'm adding hot. So for right here, I'm adding hot cubes. And logically, if you add hot to something, it must be getting hotter. And you know on a number line, when a number gets hotter or larger, we move to the right down the number line. And this tells me I'm going to move right down the number line 12 spaces. I go, now that I know I'm heading down to the right 12 spaces, I know where I started. I can skip count because I know to get me to here is 10 spaces, 11, 12. So this here will be positive 2. You could have gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but skip counting is a much better way to do this question. All right, and let's do the one in black. I'll erase it off the number line here so we don't have to look at it anymore. And here we go. It says I'm going to take away cold. So right here you would say I'm subtracting cold. And in your mind you know that when you take cold out of this magical mixture, it must be getting hotter. We know that's larger. And we know if we get hotter or larger, we're going to go to the right down the number line. And I'm going to go right down the number line 3 spaces. So now that I have my plan of attack, I say, okay, where do I start? And it says right here that I'm starting at 5. And I already know, excuse me, that I'm going to go to the right 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. My answer is 8. I'm going to put this on the next page. I'm going to put a bunch of different questions. I'll go over the first couple, but the rest is just you to practice. It works every time once you get the idea and the hang of this sentence. Okay. Okay, this time through it, I am not going to write it out on the bottom. I'm going to say it out loud, and this is how you should be saying it. To yourself, in your head, you should be saying, I'm going to add cold. If I add cold to my mixture, it must be getting colder. That means smaller. If it's getting smaller, I know it goes to the left down the number line 6 spaces. I start at 3. I go 6 spaces to the left. Oops, I missed it by 1. I go 6 spaces to the left, and I'm going to do it in 2 groups of 3. And I know that my answer is -3. I skip count it. If I do the blue one, I will say to myself, I am adding cold. And if I add cold, it is going to get colder. If it gets colder, it will move left down the number line 2 spaces. I know I start at -7. I move 2 spaces down the number line. I know my answer is -9. This one right here, we're doing the green one now. And I know that I am subtracting heat. I'm subtracting positive numbers. If I subtract hot, it must be getting colder. Again, I will be moving left down my number line 3 spaces. If I was at 5 or -5 and I move to the left, 1, 2, 3, my answer will be -8. And lastly, we're going to do the one here in the black. Let me just erase this piece right here. And here we go. I am taking away cold. And if I take cold out of my mixture, it's going to get warmer. I know warmer is right down the number line, and I know I will be moving 4 spaces. So from my question, I know I'm starting at 2. I'm moving 4 spaces, so that will get me an answer of 6. I'm going to put a few up here on the board. I just want you to talk them out with someone and make sure you can do this tomorrow. So here are 8 of them to try. I am concerned about the answers, but I'm more concerned about the fact that you know which way down the number line you're moving and how many down the number line you're moving. If you can get that, you will eliminate 95% of the errors that you have been making. And it's really important that we get this concept. So again, think the logic through before you even go near the mathematics question. So go ahead and practice this. When you're done, hit pause, practice it all, make sure you have it. And when you're done, I will just do one more question for you. So go ahead and pause. All right, the last thing I want to show you to get you ready for today, or for tomorrow it is these ones here where we had 2 operations but 3 numbers in the question. Because some kids had a hard time figuring out how to do it. Now I don't actually have a number line on me here, but we'll have to just make do. In this question, you say to yourself the same thing, I'm adding cold. If I add cold, I will be going to the left down the number line because it's getting colder. I'll be going 3 spots to the left down the number line. So really that's 8 minus 3, and that'll be 5. What you have to do is just in your head or on paper, write down that answer, and then write the rest of the question, just like you were doing an order of operations question. It'll reduce so many errors. Now you say to yourself, I am taking away cold. If I take away cold, it must be getting warmer, and it must be going to the right down the number line. I'm starting at 5, and I'm going to the right 2 spaces, and you should know that that is going to be 7. And you'll have a number line with you. All right, here we go. I'll do one more, and then you practice it, and we'll hit it tomorrow. Here is the last question. So you have like negative 5, and we can add negative 2, and then we can subtract negative 6 from it. Lots of negatives in that question. I wish I had time to put a number line up here, but I have to get going. So we're just going to do it in our heads, but you can totally have a number line in front of you when you work on this. First thing you say to yourself is you look at it, you say, I'm adding cold. If I add cold, it must be getting colder, and that colder means I'm going left down my number line. 2 spots. Looking at your number line, if you're at negative 5 and you went 2 spots to the left, you would know we were now at negative 7. You write the rest of the question down. If it's negative 7, now I'm going to be subtracting cold. If I subtract cold away from my magical mixture, I must get warmer, or the mixture must get hotter. It'll get larger. So I know that larger means I'm going to the right down the number line. So, and I'm going to go to the right 6 spots. If I look at my number line, I'm at negative 7, and I move 6 spots to the right, I will end up at negative 1. This is where we're going to pick it up tomorrow, right before we do order of operations. Good luck. I know you can do it if you just think your way through it.